Somebody had asked me before if they pull a motor home in here or a trailer, would there be any place to park it? Yes, there is. There's this big area here where people have set up campfires, it looks like, and it's just right next to the creek, so all kinds of room here, big turnaround. So that's no problem. So I've got my sluice all set up on the creek here at Sasquatch1 claim. And I'm just going to do a bunch of sampling. Just take one sample back at a time so I'll know where it comes from. If I see anything in the sluice, I'll take a picture. Otherwise, maybe I won't. I don't know. Might take a couple where I don't show anything, but I just wait probably till I get something to show it. Well, so far I've been all over the place, gotten samples, and the only one that I've dumped in that I've seen anything, as far as getting caught on the mat, is just in the river itself, in the creek, going around boulders and that kind of thing. But I don't know if you can see it, but there appears to be a couple flakes in there, maybe more. Not much. Now it's also possible some of it got trapped down there. Normally it'll stop in the mat first for a while anyway, before it moves on, if it decides to move on. So I think that's the only place I found anything. So I'll do a cleanup and see what we got. As you can see, there's plenty of black sands in the area, but unfortunately black sand doesn't always equal gold. It'd be nice if it did every single time. Anything detectable, but if it's in the riffles, it'd be at the bottom anyway. I see there's still one little flake hanging in there. Okay, we'll have to see what we got, clean it up. Okay, got it down to the black sands and the gold, and mostly there are a lot of real small stuff. There's one bigger one, a couple bigger ones, but not much. That's about it. So I guess lightning's not going to strike twice for me here. Well, now I know. Okay. So, since I just got a few specks this time, took plenty of samples, I guess I'm probably, since this is so far from my house, I'm probably not going to come back again for quite a while, if at all, I guess, unless I start hearing some reports that people found finding it in different areas and being pretty consistent. But so for me, I guess I'll head on to another area. I saw a pickup coming my way, so from the opposite direction, so I pulled over to, let him go by, and he stopped. Said, "Oh, what are you doing, rock hounding?" I said, "Well, I just was gold prospecting. Only found a few flakes, so it's probably not worth my 700-mile round trip to come back." He goes, "Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm with the Department of Fish and Game." So I said, "All right." I said, "Yeah, I was down on a claim." He said, Yeah, I know all about it." So they didn't seem too interested as much as they are in California with what we do. Time I came out here was on a weekday and there wasn't anybody. I mean, I saw one vehicle and that was just a cattle rancher, but there's nobody anywhere. This time it's a holiday weekend and not at the claim, still there's nobody there, but there's quite a few people, different places here. I just passed a kid on a quad and a lot of trailers out here that they pulled, and I guess they're doing a lot of hunting, I would imagine. Cheapest gas, I don't know if you see it, $1.90. That's the cheapest I found in Arizona.
I will.
Thank you.
They make all different ones, but the bottom line is gold and the heavy materials are at the bottom. The gold gets caught in the very edge of this little spiral. It'll walk up. The water will actually blow out the heavier black sands, And the gold, if you have it set right, will go all the way to the top. It'll go through this hole, and it'll come out in this little cup. How easy is that? So, I'm going to make sure he's empty so you know that I'm not salting it. We're going to run him too. Same principle. Classify your material out, run it through. Now, you can run this guy dry. That guy you should run wet. Now remember these? I got these guys right here. I'm going to run them all separately. Same thing. Uses a little 12-volt battery, just like that one right there. It is very portable. I'm going to get that water level to come down just a tad. Yeah, that looks real pretty. And you can see the little gold line all the way around. Okay, so, not bad, huh? Okay, now with this guy, two things I have to go over real important about this guy. They're really, really effective in what they do. And a large mining companies use the larger, you see these huge 18, 24-inch wheels. You'll see those, I think Pat King makes one too. Anyway, two things you got to worry about this on this unit is you've got this 45-degree tilt, 40 to 50-degree tilt. You have to make sure that's set right for the material that you're running.
From here?
If you read the instructions, it'll say that you got to mess with it based on your material. So I can't say, set it at this and it'll work. Depends on what you're running. Water flow, very important. If you got too much water, you'll blow the gold right back down to the bottom. So you're going to have to work with it with the material that you're running. There's no set rule on how this guy is set up. So we put this one together, we ran it yesterday, and I think I've got my flow and my angle right for the materials that I'm going to be running. It's real simple. It's got a power switch in the back, running off a battery, which powers the pump and the motor drive unit here. It just spins around and around and around. And like I said, you can feed him dry. Now when you feed this guy, make sure you feed him on this side, not this side, because you want him to get saturated first before he starts his climb. Because right about here is where he's going to hop into one of these grooves. You put him here, he might try to walk all the way up because he's dry. All right, let's feed him. I bet you I could use a gold pan.
So from here I can't see it. You're saying this side and that side.
Oh, come here.
Closer to the.
Come here. I don't bite, not much.
No, I just want to make sure you got it right.
That's okay.
Right?
Okay. So, when you set this guy up, he's going to have this little. You got to feed it on the left because you see this secondary copper tube. It's going to keep this sidewall wet, so material won't try to climb. You want to keep that saturated. Do not bend this tube. It's made from the factory to blow against this wall. If you blow the water directly into a groove, you'll blow the gold right out. It'll force the water in and shoot the gold out. That's very important. You'll read that in the operating instructions too. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to feed him in the top like such, and I'm going to get out of the way like such, so you can see. Now you can see I've got some black sand going up with that, which I don't want. So what I can do is I can increase my water pressure just a little bit. Flow just a little bit. And I'm going to force that black sand down to stay right about here. And that way anything that's in the air will be just gold. And then of course your waste material is going to flow over the edge here and into your catch trough right here.
So you don't want actually climbing more than about halfway up to.
Right. Yeah, you see black sand going up into that hole, you've got to make an adjustment. And I know I've probably got black sand in my cup, so I'm happy with that. And I'm going to show you what I mean here in just a second. Clean them out so you know that I'm not salting it. That would be slim. Rascal.
What do you get up your sleeve?
Huh?
Play cards, don't you?
Now it's a little better.
Nice.
Yeah.
I can work with that, and I'll do it again until I get the water pressure just right. Yep.
Oh, you've done a good job.
I still got some black sand in there. I'm not 100% happy with it,
Oh, that's good.
Really?
but it's cutting down on that black sand. So if I have this set right, I should almost see no black sand in there. So I could probably increase the water from this little spray bar is going to start pushing on that black sand and force it down to the bottom. If it's not too much pressure, the gold will stay in the groove and go all the way to the top, go down this hole to the back here to this cup. The black sand will stay in the bottom, and as you can see, it'll continue to wash and wash and wash, and then flow over this edge, and that's where all your waste material go. And if I were to pull this trough out, you can actually see all the sand that's down there right now, in the very bottom of the trough. See that? And that's how the gold gets up here, and the black sand stays behind. Is that the question that you had? Yeah. Okay, just want to make sure, because I start to rattle sometimes. Now if you look, I'll get a different pan so you can see this. Just by letting it run a little bit, I got a little bit more gold, but I still got some black sand, so I can increase this guy just a little bit, like such, and then run it again, and when I get it fine-tuned, you'll get it set up. Then you start running your material through on a regular basis. Patent claim, they don't mind if you dry wash mine down, just don't go mine. Please don't mind in Sandy Valley.
But if you've got it all mixed together,
Yep. Ah, you know that one?
with some of things, and then
Yeah.
gold, you screen it.
Now you're not going to get rich doing this, but you'll get some nice
Some
little
gold
pieces
is
out of it.
chunky, and other gold is very, very flat. Like almost like
Let's see what you got. I bet you there's gold in it too. I can feel it.
that's your jet dry. And then start messing with it.
that's
But
okay.
within
I'm still learning too.
we threw some fresh material in here. It wouldn't take you 15 minutes to get the hang of this does this.
All right,
does
so
that,
here's what
and
we're
then
gonna do.
it's a matter of like playing an
All right, so first thing you want to do
Pick a
is
string on a
you're going to
guitar.
stratify.
Playing music is a whole different deal. But it
By
doesn't
stratifying, you're
take
circulating.
that long
I like going
to pick up on
counterclockwise.
very few variables.
And then I'm going to start to shake back and forth.
Classification.
Exactly. And then as I'm doing that, I'm tilting forward
Then you're only lifting
like such. And that's running all that gold into the crease down at the bottom. If I go this way. All right. We're going to get started again. We're going to go with number 3. Gold cubes. I love the gold cubes. Pat used to have a gold. Hey, Pat, where's your gold cube at?
I sold it.
Ah, you should have got another one. Okay, I'm going to shut these down so I don't have to talk over the top of them. You guys can see the gold and how it works. They're good machines, both of them. Hey, Daddy. If you buy one of these, I like to get it with the hopper. It comes with an optional hopper. They both have their own pumps. If you do get one, make sure you get the 15 and the 2,000 gallon per hour pumps. You want a lot of flow going through there. Also, if you buy it, get the 4 stack, not the 3 stack. The reason why is it's got more time to settle out in all those little tiny pieces of that funky looking carpet. Now, this is great for separating fine gold, and you don't, the manufacturer claims it. I still use it, but they say you don't need this. The reason why is because once gold is wet, it will drop. If it's dry, it'll float, if it's small. The way that the gold cube works, as it runs across that, it looks like conveyor belt rubber. That's the only way I can describe it. It goes down, it has to go under, like an underflow sluice, if you guys are familiar with that technology, and then up again. And as it does so, it forces it to get wet, so it won't float. We've used them before, and you've probably seen our videos. They work fantastic. If you can't afford it and you don't want to mess with anything else, you can run all different size materials, but you have to classify, like I told you last time, classify everything. You can feed them wet or dry, but I've noticed that wet is always better. It does start off on top of a slick plate if you don't have the hopper, and it gives it a chance to saturate. But wet seems to always do better. I don't know why. It's easy cleanup. The secret to getting it set up, take it all apart, take a high pressure hose, spray each top of that box, and make sure there's no air bubbles on top of that rubber matting. If there is, the gold will float right over the top of it. So you have to spray it really hard with a hose first. What else? And it's really super easy cleanup. Most of the gold's going to be in the top 2 of the 4 stack. Take the top off, turn it over, spray with a hose, it's done. It's that simple. I wish you had one here because they work really good. Side note, we found a vein of limonite that had gold in it. We ran it through the gold cube, picked it up like a charm. Even the small fine stuff that was 60 and 70. So gold cubes are really good. Any questions? The Vortex sluice. Anybody hear this? Anybody? No? The gold well drop Vortex? Okay, one, that's it? Okay. This is a brand new technology that just came out. Not just, I'd say maybe 6 months, something to that effect.
I saw one up at Happy Camp 2 years ago.
2 years?
One of their,
Oh, I've only heard about
one
it.
of their tests before their test.
Oh, okay. Like a prototype? Okay, this is a new design. A lot of people swear by this thing. I haven't had a chance to use one, but I will be in the next, not this video, but the second video after the next one. We got our hands on one, but I just haven't had time to do the video yet. The way that it works, well, it's really simple. They've got these little wells that are drilled out in this, or machined out in this aluminum. You got a ridge right here, and you wouldn't think that this would trap gold, but it does. And what it does is it creates like a fluid bed. As the water's rushing over, the water gets trapped in these little spirals like a vortex.
It's a helical, they're a helical well that goes down to about a 3/8 inch pocket at the bottom. And it tries to spin each of the water flow like a little miniature whirlpool that repeats.
And so as the material's swirling, it creates like a fluid bed, and the gold will actually sit in the very center of that well, and the lighter stuff will swirl around and actually come out. And it's not staying packed in there, like on the back of a sluice where it packs in and that's it. This stuff is actually in motion all the time. Now, the key with this thing is two things. Your water flow is very, very important. If the water flow is not strong enough, then of course you're not going to see any movement in these wells. If it's too much, well actually I didn't see what would happen if it's too much. They just say that your water flow should be moving the material in the wells. If it's not moving and if it's clumping up, increase your flow. It's a really interesting design, and I can't wait to do a video on it. But it, like I said, it acts like a fluid bed, if you guys are familiar with that type of technology. And the gold will actually sit in the middle, and eventually it will clean all the lighter material out on a regular basis. So that's something else you might want to look into if you guys get a chance. Gold well drop vortex sluice, very good machine. It's a whole different type of technology. Is that slim? Okay. Miller tables, yeah, they do work. You got to feed them really slow with a spoon. They make different ones. Martin makes one, Catch It 2 makes one. They claim that you can get up to 300 mesh on your gold. I don't know if that's true because I've never had 300 mesh gold in a Miller table before. I usually use something else. And of course you have to use camel hair brush, I believe, on those things so the gold won't stick. I like the Martins. They have a little tiny hole at the very top. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with how a Miller table works. It's like a slick plate with a piece of rubber over it. And you put the fine gold that's been classified, like I told you. And the gold will actually sit on top of that flat rubber plate. It's really interesting, a little mat that's on there. And you'll take your little camel hair brush and you'll brush the gold to the side. Well, on these Martins, they got a hole on the very side with this little glass jar on the bottom. So you just brush it over. You don't need a snuffer bottle. It goes right in the hole, and then you can take it off, put the cap on. They're really good for fine gold, but me personally, I get impatient with them. I want something that has a little bit more volume, a little more ump to it. Because what we do is we move a lot of material. Now, if you're just a hobby or whatever, and you got maybe a little container of black sands and you want to run it, this would be fantastic. They're not that expensive, and the Catch It 2 is actually pretty good. I've seen a lot of good reviews on this one. So this is something else you might want to look into if you're running really fine gold and you don't want to spend a fortune. And it's really simple setup, and it uses a recirc system like these. And it has a pump just like this, and it just has a nice gentle flow or a rubber pad. You wouldn't think the gold would stick, but it does. Now, I'm not going to go into this too much because this is probably something that most of you are never going to use. A lot of mining companies use jigs to do their cleanup on their fine gold as it comes out. There is a company that makes a quicksand fluid bed. It's a small rig, about yay big. It's not that expensive. It's like 90 bucks. You dump your cons into the center of it. It creates a dropout zone in the very center, like a vortex tube. The gold will drop in the center while the heavier material, or I should say the lighter material, sorry, flows out to the top. And like I said, they're about yay big. They say that you can run a lot of material. I don't know. I've never actually used one. I've seen them work, but I need something that's a little bigger for what we do.